When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not of the same blood or birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. And so none of them can hurt me. No one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are obstructions. Life is full of moments that test our patience, push our boundaries, and sometimes even shake our sense of peace. But here's something the ancient Stoics knew well. It's not the events themselves that disturb us, it's how we interpret them. Every time we encounter a difficult person, whether it's a colleague who undermines us, a friend who always takes more than they give, or a stranger who disregards basic courtesy, we're given a choice. We can let their behavior control us, or we can take control of our own reactions. Stoicism, a philosophy born in the chaos of ancient Greece and Rome, teaches us to focus on what's within our control, our thoughts, our actions, our responses. Today, we're diving deep into how Stoicism offers powerful tactics to handle selfish people without losing your calm or compromising your values. We're not just talking abstract ideas. We'll explore practical, actionable steps you can apply today to stay grounded, maintain your peace, and rise above the noise. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand how Stoic wisdom can transform your relationships, but also how it can help you become unshakable in the face of life's daily challenges. Stick with me, because what you're about to learn could change the way you approach every difficult interaction from here on out. As we journey through these Stoic practices together, if you appreciate what we're doing here, a simple free favor I'll ask from you is to hit the subscribe button and make sure you don't skip any part of the video to get the full impact of what we're about to explore. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Understanding Stoic Philosophy. Stoicism isn't just a set of ideas from dusty old tomes. It's a vibrant, practical philosophy that has thrived from the bustling marketplaces of ancient Athens and Rome to our modern-day cafes and offices. At its core, Stoicism teaches us how to live well in a world that often seems out of control. It was founded by Zeno of Citium in the early 3rd century BCE, but it's perhaps best known through the writings of later Stoic thinkers like Seneca, Epictetus, and the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, whose meditations on life still resonate with us today. These Stoic philosophers shared a common belief that life's quality is determined not by what happens to us, but by how we respond to these events. They proposed that the path to happiness is found in accepting the moment as it presents itself, by not being controlled by our desire for pleasure or our fear of pain, but by using our minds to understand the world around us and to do our part in nature's plan. What makes Stoicism so applicable today is its focus on practical action. It's about more than just enduring hardship. It's about transforming our reactions to them. Stoics teach us to distinguish between what is within our control, our thoughts, perceptions, and actions, and what is not, namely everything else outside us. This distinction helps to foster a sense of peace and empowerment, which is incredibly liberating, especially in today's fast-paced world where so much can seem beyond our control. By practicing Stoicism, we learn to focus our energy on our own actions and attitudes, cultivating virtues such as wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. Each of these plays a crucial role in fostering a fulfilling life by helping us act with good character and sound judgment. Stoicism, therefore, isn't just about coping, it's about thriving. It teaches us to meet each challenge not with resignation, but with the vigor of knowing we have the power to choose our path. Through Stoicism, we discover that true tranquility and satisfaction aren't derived from external achievements or the accumulation of possessions, but from developing the inner resources to deal with whatever life throws our way. Chapter 2: Stoic Tactics for Handling Selfish People. When it comes to handling selfish people, Stoicism provides us with powerful tools to maintain our composure and act in line with our values, rather than getting caught up in the drama or frustration of the moment. The Stoics believed that while we cannot control other people's behavior, we have absolute control over how we choose to respond. And this simple but profound idea can change the way we interact with difficult, selfish individuals. One of the first Stoic tactics is to respond, don't react. This means that when confronted with selfishness, instead of immediately retaliating or allowing our emotions to dictate our behavior, we take a moment to pause and think. In that brief pause, we give ourselves the power to act from a place of reason rather than impulse. As Epictetus put it, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to let someone else's rudeness trigger an angry reaction, but Stoicism teaches us to stop and choose a more constructive response. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic or interrupts you during a meeting, hogging the conversation for themselves. Your gut reaction might be to lash out or fume in silence, but a Stoic would remind us that their behavior is out of our control. What we can control is our internal response. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that the people he encountered daily, those who were selfish, rude, or aggressive, were acting according to their nature, and that his job was not to change them, but to act virtuously in the face of it. This perspective helps shift the focus from them to us, giving us the opportunity to practice patience and self-control. Another key Stoic tactic is to cultivate empathy and understanding. This doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior, but rather you try to understand what might be driving it. Selfishness often stems from insecurity, fear, or personal struggles. Marcus Aurelius would ask himself, what does this person need in this moment? A reminder that we all have challenges and flaws, and that sometimes the best response is compassion rather than confrontation. When you approach selfish people with empathy, you're not validating their actions, but you're rising above them, choosing not to let their negativity pull you down. Stoicism also encourages us to visualize the worst, a technique known as premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of adversity. By mentally preparing yourself for the possibility of encountering selfish people, you reduce the emotional shock when it happens. For instance, you might tell yourself, today I may meet people who will be rude, inconsiderate, or self-centered. This is part of life, and I am prepared to face it with grace. This way, when it does happen, you're not blindsided or thrown off balance. You've already anticipated it and are ready to deal with it calmly. Equally important is the practice of detaching from expectations. The Stoics were firm in their belief that much of our suffering comes not from the actions of others, but from our unrealistic expectations of how people should behave. Epictetus reminds us, ask not that events should happen as you will, but let your will be that events happen as they do. In the context of selfish people, this means accepting that there will always be people who act selfishly. It's part of the human condition. By releasing the expectation that everyone will be fair or kind, we free ourselves from unnecessary frustration. Instead, We focus on what we can control, our responses and our attitude. And lastly, the Stoics teach us to cherish the challenge. While it may seem counterintuitive, dealing with selfish people is an opportunity to practice the Stoic virtues of patience, wisdom, and self-control. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Each time we encounter someone selfish and choose to respond with composure and virtue, we are strengthening our own character. We are building resilience, not just for that moment, but for every future challenge we'll face. In this way, selfish people aren't just obstacles, they become stepping stones for our own personal growth. Stoicism reminds us that life will always present us with difficult interactions, but it's how we choose to handle them that defines our journey. By practicing these Stoic tactics, we not only protect our peace of mind, but also become better, stronger individuals in the process. Now, let's bring Stoic tactics into real-world situations where they truly shine. It's one thing to understand the theory of Stoicism, but the real value comes from knowing how to apply it in everyday interactions with difficult, selfish people. These moments, often frustrating and unexpected, are the perfect training ground for Stoic principles. Whether you're at work, at home, or just out in the world, selfishness shows up in different forms, but Stoicism helps us handle it with grace and poise. Take the workplace, for example. We've all dealt with that coworker who seems to be in it for themselves, constantly pushing their agenda and stepping over others to get ahead. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control this person's ambition, but we can control how we respond to it. Instead of getting caught up in the office politics or letting it affect our mood, we can apply Marcus Aurelius's advice. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This means shifting our focus from what's unfair to what we can do, whether that's calmly addressing the issue or focusing on our own work and letting go of resentment. By refusing to let their behavior dictate our emotions, we maintain our own peace and productivity. At home, Stoicism can help us navigate selfishness in our personal relationships. Whether it's a family member who always wants things their way, or a friend who seems to prioritize their needs over yours, these dynamics can be draining. But here's where the Stoic practice of empathy and understanding can make a huge difference. Instead of reacting in frustration, we can ask ourselves, what might be driving this person's behavior? Often, selfishness stems from insecurity, stress, or their own unresolved issues. By recognizing this, we can respond with patience and compassion, not to excuse their actions, but to rise above them. Epictetus reminds us, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. When we change our perspective, we change the way we experience these interactions. Now, let's talk about social situations, dinner parties, gatherings, or even just casual meetups with friends. We've all been in those scenarios where one person dominates the conversation, interrupts others, or makes everything about themselves. It's easy to feel irritated or sidelined, but here's where Stoic tactics can help us keep our cool. By practicing detachment from expectations, as Epictetus teaches, we learn to accept that not everyone will act the way we want them to. If we go into these social interactions without the expectation that everyone will behave perfectly, we won't feel let down when someone doesn't. Instead, we can choose to engage with the conversation in a way that aligns with our values. Maybe that means listening more or gracefully changing the subject. In any case, we are no longer controlled by someone else's selfish behavior. Let's not forget those random, everyday encounters with strangers. On the road, in the grocery store, or at the coffee shop. You're standing in line and someone pushes ahead of you, completely ignoring social courtesy. These situations are ripe for anger, But Stoicism provides a better approach. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to expect these kinds of disruptions and not be surprised by them. After all, selfish people will always exist. It's how we deal with them that matters. Instead of reacting angrily or letting it ruin your day, you can use premeditatio malorum, the Stoic practice of imagining the worst-case scenario beforehand. By mentally preparing yourself for these small daily annoyances, you can handle them with more calm and composure when they inevitably happen. There's also the power of choosing your battles wisely, which is deeply embedded in Stoic thinking. When someone is acting selfishly, ask yourself, is it worth my energy to engage with this, or am I better off letting it go? Often, the Stoic answer is to let go of what doesn't serve you. As Seneca said, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. This mindset helps us not only avoid unnecessary conflicts, but also keeps us grounded in what truly matters, our inner peace. These practical applications of Stoicism help us to not just deal with selfish people, but to transform these interactions into opportunities for personal growth. By shifting our perspective, detaching from outcomes, and responding with reason and empathy, we create a buffer between ourselves and the negativity of others. In doing so, we protect our inner tranquility and become more resilient with each encounter. Stoicism in practice is not just about enduring the selfishness of others, but about turning these moments into powerful lessons that help us live more wisely and calmly, no matter what or who comes our way. Chapter 3. Long-term benefits of Stoic practice. When we practice Stoicism over time, the benefits begin to extend far beyond just handling difficult or selfish people. It starts small, perhaps with managing a stressful situation at work or keeping calm when someone cuts you off in traffic, but soon it begins to reshape the way we approach life as a whole. The long-term practice of Stoic principles builds a foundation of resilience, inner peace, and wisdom that enhances our day-to-day experience in profound ways. One of the most significant long-term benefits is the development of emotional resilience. The Stoics believed that while we can't control external events, we can always control how we respond to them. Over time, as we continue to apply Stoic tactics like pausing before reacting or choosing to focus only on what's within our control, we become less affected by life's inevitable ups and downs. The daily irritations, whether from selfish people, sudden changes, or setbacks, no longer have the same power over us. This doesn't mean we become emotionless or detached, but rather that we develop a kind of emotional strength. As Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This shift in perspective allows us to remain centered, even in the face of adversity, and makes us more adaptable to life's uncertainties. Beyond resilience, practicing Stoicism cultivates a sense of inner peace. When we let go of the desire to control everything and accept that some things are simply out of our hands, we experience a deep sense of calm. This is the peace that comes from truly understanding what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control, knowing what's up to us and what isn't. Seneca taught that much of our distress comes from wanting reality to be different than it is. But through Stoic practice, we learn to accept things as they are and to respond to life with calm and reason. This peace of mind isn't something that comes overnight, but with consistent practice, it becomes a stable part of our character. Instead of being reactive or anxious about the future, we become more grounded in the present moment, able to face whatever comes our way with clarity and composure. Another key benefit is the improvement of relationships. As we apply Stoic empathy and compassion, we become better at understanding others, even those who may act selfishly or rudely. The Stoics emphasized seeing the world from other people's perspectives and recognizing that everyone is dealing with their own internal struggles. By practicing this kind of understanding, we reduce conflict in our relationships and approach others with more patience. Over time, this leads to deeper, more meaningful connections with the people around us. We stop taking things personally, and instead, we begin to view difficult interactions as opportunities to practice virtue, whether that's patience, kindness, or self-control. Stoicism also fosters a sense of purpose and meaning in life. The more we practice Stoic virtues like wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation, the more we align our actions with what truly matters. Instead of being swayed by fleeting desires, external validation, or material success, Stoicism helps us focus on living according to our values. Epictetus taught that the most important thing is not what happens to us, but how we live in accordance with nature and reason. By consistently practicing Stoicism, we begin to feel a stronger sense of fulfillment, knowing that we're living with integrity and purpose, no matter what life throws at us. One of the most profound long-term effects of Stoicism is the development of self-mastery. When we become skilled at controlling our reactions, emotions, and desires, we gain a level of mastery over ourselves that allows us to navigate life with greater confidence and wisdom. Instead of being at the mercy of external circumstances or the behavior of others, we become the steady force in our own lives. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that external events could not harm his inner self unless he allowed them to. This self-mastery doesn't mean we won't face challenges or emotions, but that we'll be better equipped to handle them without being overwhelmed. Finally, long-term Stoic practice brings contentment and gratitude. Stoicism encourages us to appreciate the present moment and to be grateful for what we have, rather than constantly yearning for more. Seneca wrote extensively about the importance of recognizing the wealth we already possess, not in terms of money or material goods, but in terms of time, relationships, and personal growth. By practicing gratitude regularly, we begin to find joy in the simple things, and we let go of the constant pursuit of more. This shift in mindset leads to a more content, fulfilling life, where we're no longer driven by external pressures, but by a sense of inner abundance. In the long run, Stoicism isn't just about surviving life's challenges, it's about thriving through them. By practicing Stoic principles consistently, we become more resilient, more peaceful, and more in tune with what really matters. We grow not only in how we handle selfish or difficult people, but in how we approach life as a whole. And that, in itself, is the greatest gift that Stoicism offers: a life lived with purpose, peace, and strength. At the end of the day, no matter what challenges we face, whether it's dealing with selfish people, navigating setbacks, or simply managing the unpredictability of life, remember this: the power to stay grounded and resilient is within you. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions or avoiding conflict. It's about facing life's difficulties with strength, clarity, and integrity. You have the tools. You have the wisdom. Now it's time to put it into practice. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal, where we journey together in mastering life's challenges through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Don't leave just yet. Tap into even more insights by watching one of the videos on the screen right now. Your path to a stronger, more peaceful mind continues there. See you soon, and until then, stay strong, stay stoic.